All right, welcome everyone. We're just going to start off with a little meditation to begin the show with. So if you would, please close your eyes or just sort of sit back in your seat. Just relax. Start noticing your breathing. Noticing if you're breathing heavy or slow. Just knowing that each breath we take in is a blessing. And each moment on this earth is a blessing and an opportunity to experience new things and things that help us grow and help us learn. So I know we're all going through a very difficult or maybe dark time with this retrograde, and we're going through a lot of stress and struggle. And just know that this will not be forever. This struggling will not last. So just take a deep breath in, breathing in, feeling how good it feels, and breathing out fully, just releasing all that air, maybe air that you've been holding in for too long. This is going to clear our chakras, clear our energy field, raise our vibration to a whole new level, activating your DNA, creating a space for your higher self to be fully present with you. A place where you can experience the most joy. And so focusing on your breathing, just begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. Start to reawake to this physical reality we all live in, the cyberspace that we're all sharing here. And I want to say thank you to everybody who is a part of this space in this moment. And thank you all for being a part. So, welcome everyone to the Project Bring Me Life podcast. This is podcast number 28, and we are joined by visionary artist Ricky Schaede. Welcome to the show, Ricky. Oh. Yeah, definitely, you're welcome. And so we usually start off with a question of, who are you, where do you come from, and what is your purpose here on Earth?
My name is Ricky Schaede. I come from Ontario, Canada. I was born in Brampton, grew up in Brampton, and then my family moved up north to the country to a little village called Alton, where I sort of found my spiritual awareness and sort of found who I was there in the seclusion of the forest and the small town. And then since then I've moved to Orangeville, which is it's a bit of a bigger town, but it's definitely not as big as Brampton, and it's just a little bit north of Alton where I used to live. And this is the town where I found my voice as an artist, and where I established myself as an artist. And my purpose here in this world is to share my artwork and to share the visions and images that come through to me through various experiences, and to just sort of hone my ability to create a physical version of those visions and ideas and colors and shapes, and to just really create a physical version to share with people. And I hope that the images can bring awareness of how beautiful the world we live in is, bring awareness of cultural issues of our society, and to really just bring to light the higher self and just the light that's inside, because a lot of artwork is really about the physical world, and I just want to sort of break through that and bring new ideas and new concepts and just share what I feel and hopefully uplift others by doing that.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that answer very much.
Definitely.
So, did you have a question? It seemed like maybe you did.
I was just checking out some of the pictures of the art that he had on his Facebook. I just saw a picture of the one that's behind him in more detail. I'm
Mhm.
just super excited. I was wondering what medium you use to do a lot of your artwork.
I have used primarily acrylics. I'm going to start learning oils this year. I've sort of dabbled in oils. They're definitely out of my comfort zone. I'm a bit scared of the health, like the negative health effects of oils, because they're definitely not a healthy substance, and there's a lot of health effects that come along with those. So that's why I've kind of stuck to acrylics. But oils is definitely where I'm going to go, but I'll always stay with acrylics.
Nice. I'm excited to see what you do with some oils. And my thing with oils is they just take a lot of patience. I actually started, yeah, I started in oils because that's what my grandmother did. And oh, man, I can't wait 6 months for a layer to dry.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. So when you get to going in oils, I'm excited to see what kind of work you do. Did you
Cool.
start out in acrylics then, or did you try any other mediums like pencils or pastels or anything?
Pretty much been strictly acrylics. Yeah, pretty much strictly acrylics.
Could you explain the picture behind you a little bit?
So this painting, it's called Vehicle of the Starborn Prince, and so there's this big spirit right here in the middle, and in its arm it's got this woman, and she's pregnant, and she's got this big afro that's kind of sort of made of stars, and in the other arm there's this baby. And the premise I had when I was making this was, first of all, the idea of trust, in that the woman and the baby both have their eyes closed and they're sitting in the arms of the spirit, and they're in this really crazy outer space scene, and they're just trusting that the spirit knows what they need and where they need to go. And then after getting into the process of painting it, I sort of connected to the idea of the spirit as both being a machine but also a living being. So it sort of brought up this concept to me where if in the future have this crazy technological advancement, that our technology would also be biological and would also have consciousness. So this spirit is a creation of these beings, but it is also its own being, and it it's standing or in space above this planet down here at the bottom that kind of looks like the planet Earth. Um, and so one of my concepts was that they have left their previous world and they're in search of a new heaven where this woman can raise her child. So this is the vehicle of the Starborn Prince, and they're traveling through the heavens to find their new home.
Wow,
And that's the story of the painting.
that is absolutely such a beautiful painting. And how long have you put into this so far?
I've been working on this for 2 months.
Nice.
And yeah, the picture that you have up there is sort of halfway through the process of it, so some stuff has changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's taken 2 months, and I just finished it last night, which was amazing. I was up till 6:30 in the morning painting, and I had to be up at 10 in the morning for a thing that I had to do, and it was a rough morning, but it was worth it because I've been working on this for so long, and it's the only painting I've done that I've taken this long on, and I think it's probably my most important painting yet, because I took so much time with it and I really put a lot of care into it, and I think that going forward I'm going to be spending a lot more time on my paintings just because I've seen what I can accomplish with this process.
That's awesome. And it's a nice size too. I like that you work in a little bit of a larger size, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some smaller pieces, but I like this is 36 inches by 36 inches, so 3 feet, and I think that that's a really good size. And I have a blank 4 foot canvas, 4 foot by 4 feet, like a square canvas, just sitting waiting for me, and I have a concept for it. And I've got a smaller canvas that I just bought yesterday that I'm going to do a painting based on a dream that I had, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Could you explain a little bit why you use like round canvas in different round meetings? I think I noticed a couple of your pieces were different shapes like that.
Yeah, the round canvas, it's like the shape of the canvas sort of for me always informs the picture, because I like to sort of make an image that fits well with the canvas. So the first round canvases I got were two small ones, and you can probably find them online somewhere. I painted these nice sort of spirity mandala images on them, and then at the art store where I work, my boss got in this big round canvas, and I just had to have it. So this is the third round canvas I've worked on, and anytime I see a round canvas, I'm going to have to pick it up because it's just really cool, especially with painting these spirits and like the geometries of the spirits. I find it really works well with the circular shape.
It's awesome. I always am intrigued by round artwork and different things because as an artist, I'm kind of the same way where it's fun to work on different kind of mediums. But I also used to work at an art store, and I always used to dread seeing a red or a round canvas because I'd be like, how am I supposed to frame that? But it's so different. I love seeing artists use them and then just not sit around wondering what to do on them. So it's beautiful. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. I did have a few questions, a few things that I wanted to get into. I asked this question to Michael Garfield on Tuesday, but I was wondering if you could describe what makes an artist a visionary artist.
I think that the term visionary in relation to art means that you paint visions that you see of things that exist outside of this world. So, like for example, like the spirits. These spirits are a vision that I've had and that I'm deepening through my painting. And another aspect of visionary art is that there's a lot of archetypal imagery in it. So, like dealing with archetypes like the mother and the wise man and all of these different sort of primal images and ideas that are in our subconscious, sort of placing these throughout the image to unlock different parts of the mind. So a visionary artist isn't about taking a photograph and turning it into like a painting. It's about creating and revealing the unseen so that it can be seen by others.
Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question, or the next thing that I wanted to get into, I was very curious about this because to me, spirituality is very important to my purpose here on Earth. And I read in your bio that there was an experience that you had in high school that you described as you said very spiritual in different terms, but.
So that experience, when I was in high school, like the early like first years of high school, I was just like a kind of sad person. I didn't have a good self-image. I didn't really know who I was or why I was here or what I was doing. And the experience was when the first time I actually ate mushrooms. And I was alone in my bedroom, and basically what happened was I started crying, and like I looked at myself in the mirror, and I saw how beautiful I was, and I sort of just walked out into the hallway in my house, and I saw it in this new light where it was like before it was this old, usual place where there was nothing special, but everything just seemed so beautiful. And then I went into my room and I cried more, and I wrote a poem, like a 2-page long poem. And then it kind of just really opened me up and showed me how beautiful I was and the world that I live in, how beautiful it was. And it sort of gave me a creative jolt. Like when I wrote that poem, after that, I just kept writing poems, and like it made me more creative, and I was just happier and lighter, and I was a different person after that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've had similar experiences where something like that could sort of just create this burst of creative energy. And I read that after that you started getting a bunch of paint, and a bunch of canvases, and started doing a bunch of artwork. And I think that's really beautiful. And your experience is really wonderful experience. And I just find it awesome that that what you got from that was just this inspiration to create all this beautiful artwork that everybody can enjoy together.
Yeah, it sort of like filled me with wanting to share the beauty that I had experienced. So when I bought the paints and canvases, I just, like, I didn't have any idea that I wanted to be an artist back then. I just kind of was, I knew that I enjoyed painting. My dad does art as a hobby, and when I was a small kid, he would like let me paint tiles and stuff like that, and I always drew, etc. But I never thought I really had a talent for art until that time when I bought my own paints and my own canvases. Actually, from the art store that I still work at now is where I bought my very first supplies. Um, and then throughout the rest of the years of high school, I just painted like every once in a while, like maybe I did like 6 paintings altogether in that time. So it wasn't a lot of output, but it was definitely like I established my foundation in art. I watched a lot of YouTube videos of like Bob Ross, how to paint, stuff like that. I
Bob
did,
Ross.
yeah, I love doing like landscapes, and I did some, like it all had a sort of spiritual feel to it, and some of the stuff I did was visionary, but it was mostly just sort of getting a foothold in art so that I could take it to the place that I am now.
I definitely feel like there's a difference when you as an artist or a person like go out and buy your own materials. Like it just gives you like a totally bigger drive than your parents like giving it to you and saying, here, you can do this. So I'm glad that you expressed that enjoyment.
Yeah, there was another experience that I did want to get into, and this one I'm very interested in because of the timing. And you said in December 2012 you were part of the 7 Sacred Fire ceremony in the Mayan ruins in Guatemala.
Yeah, so my brother's girlfriend, she had lived in Guatemala for 2 periods of 6 months, like several years ago, and she had been there and been doing these sacred fire ceremonies with this group of people. So she really felt called to go there for December 2012, and invited me and my brother along, and like, of course we went. And we spent a whole month there, and while we weren't doing these ceremonies, we were living in the village San Marcos on Lake Atitlan, and then we went to the other side of the country to Lake El Pitan, where we did these 7 ceremonies, and it was with a group, and the ceremonies were called the Unification Maya. And so it was the 7 ceremonies for the 7 chakras leading up to the 7th ceremony, which was at Tikal in like the biggest Mayan ruins. And the sacred fire ceremonies were really beautiful. There was a group of shamans, and there was maybe a group of maybe like 20 of us participating in the ceremonies. And they built fires not with logs of wood, but with bundles of herbs and resins and arrangements of colored candles. And parts of the ceremonies, like we would all be given objects that we would put intentions into, like candles and our own bundles of herbs and stuff like that. And throughout the ceremonies, they were based on the Mayan astrology. So each ceremony would be going through the different noals of the Mayan astrology, which are like the signs of the Mayan astrology. And so it would all be like aligned in accordance to that astrology and the meanings of that. And we would put our intentions into the fire and sort of try to put into the fire what we wanted to create with our lives and with the world, etc., etc. And so, like, one ceremony was in a cave, which was really beautiful, in the cave of the feathered serpent. And at several temples, we had ceremonies. We did a sunrise ceremony, which was really cool. The first ceremony, we arrived in the jungle at night and walked through the jungle at night, all holding hands up to the temple. And you could hear howler monkeys in the forest. It was absolutely amazing. And it all led up to the 7th ceremony in Tikal. And of course, it was December 21st, 2012. So in Tikal, there's all the news crews and the cameras and all these people, and the Guatemalan president was there, and all the shamans in our group. Like, nobody liked the Guatemalan president because he was one of the people behind the mass genocides in Guatemala in the 90s. Guatemala just got out of a civil war in 1996. And I remember one of the shamans, a lady who would play guitar at the ceremonies, mentioned him being one of the warlords. And so there was like all of these cameras and lights and action, and it just didn't seem authentic. So our group, they negotiated with the park and got us to be able to go to one of the more, one of the smaller temples that had less people there. So we went there and had our own more meaningful, intimate ceremony there. But it was cool to see all of the spectacle and to see the president and all that. And yeah, it was just a really magnificent experience. And when I was there, I still didn't know that I wanted to be an artist. I was actually writing novels. I have written 2 novels in my life, and I haven't gotten them published. But all of what I was throwing into the fire there was that I wanted to be a published author and like all about my writing. And I didn't put a thing about my art into the fire. But after the experience in Guatemala, when I came home, I sort of spent 2 months finishing my second book, and then after that, I sort of felt like I didn't have anything to do. So one day I was just inspired to paint, and then I painted, and then I painted, and then I painted, and I did so many paintings that summer, and just like really found my voice and found a calling with art. And since then, since that summer, I've just been painting completely. I haven't written anything in a while, actually, which I'm okay with, as long as I'm doing something creative. And I found a real purpose in art that I don't think I had with writing. And I'll still go back to writing and dabble in writing, but it was the experiences in Guatemala, even though I didn't know it then, that turned me into the person that was able to do these paintings and that wanted to do these paintings. So that was my experience in Guatemala and how it affected me as an artist.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, that sounds like quite the place to be for 2012.
Yeah, no doubt. It's truly amazing. You were talking about near the end, you were writing, and I would like to touch on that in just a little bit. But continuing with the ceremony, were there any experiences where you could feel your chakras just explode, or kind of like a Kundalini awakening, or just some kind of like psychedelic experience without taking any of the psychedelic?
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with the Kundalini and my chakras and stuff before. I've done several Kundalini dance ceremonies as well. My brother's girlfriend, who took us to Guatemala, is a Kundalini dance facilitator. And the whole time in Guatemala, I was just completely open, and like whereas back home I wouldn't have been that open. I was just so open and free feeling, and I felt like there was nothing restricting the energy flowing up through me, and it was just all so spectacular. And it's not that I had psychedelic visions per se, but it was a very psychedelic and sort of spiritual feeling time. It felt like the whole time there was a sort of meditation and ceremony in itself.
Sure. I love those experiences. I had one in October at a Native American ceremony where they just called everybody together, and there were a few different minds there, and they were doing this dance, this crazy dance that just was like, I was blown away by it, seeing all these people jumping up. But they had this war drum with them, called the peace drum, and they would take it around different parts of the world and just beat for peace. Were there any drums going on at the ceremony? I could imagine.
Absolutely. So the lady who played guitar, she also had a flute, and there was drums, and so she would always do some musical accompaniment, and we were all given rattles, and so there would be parts of the ceremony where everyone would be shaking their rattle at the same time, sort of after an affirmation was made. We would all shake our rattles and sort of holler and shout and cheer, and there was a lot of dancing, and just like really being free-spirited. At the end of every ceremony, we would all get up and everyone would hug each other. And yeah, there was definitely musical elements. My brother played guitar in some ceremonies, and there was definitely drums. But like my memory is not perfect, but I don't remember there being a really strong presence of drums. It was more of the guitar and the flute that I remember.
That's so beautiful.
It sounds beautiful.
Did it to you? Was it a new world after that? 2112?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Did it? Because everybody was talking about how it's the end of the world. I know the Mayans would say it's the beginning of a new world. Did you feel like it was completely a new world after that experience?
Absolutely. Especially when I think about my transition from writing to painting. It just sort of happened like that. Like, I never had an idea that I wanted to be an artist or that I was an artist, and then I just started doing these paintings, and it just sort of happened, and now my whole life is about art and making art and sharing art, and it is a whole new world for me. I feel like a new person. I like my life has completely changed, and yeah, it's definitely a new world for sure.
That's really awesome. I love these type of conversations. Just everybody talking about their experiences. And 2012 was a crazy.
For sure. I remember fireworks went off right at midnight, and the electric went out of the whole street, and we really thought the end of the world was happening for a few minutes. And then everybody just kind of came out of their houses and was super happy, and I was just like, wow, totally different than what we were expecting. But sounds like he had quite the experience. When you said you put things into the fire, and you were putting all the things about your writing in, did you ever just put in that you wanted to like follow your divine path, and maybe that's why everything changed from writing to art for you, and it was just like the universe's way of being like, hey, this is your thing, and you just don't even know yet?
Absolutely. The writing was just sort of like a sort of subcategory of what I was throwing in, and it definitely was just throwing in sort of to follow my divine path and to do what felt right and what felt happy and free. And I think that definitely applied to my art. And I did finish my book, so I did do what I threw into the fire. I didn't publish it, but I did finish it. And I definitely followed my divine path, and I am where I am today. So.
Definitely.
What kind of stuff did you write about? I'm curious, because I didn't even know that you were a writer.
So my book that I wrote, I won't tell you about the first one, but the second book that I wrote was called Annagella, and it was a blend of sword and sorcery, fantasy, and futuristic science fiction. And it's a story about a princess who she has to step into her power, and in order to step into her power, she has to do some things that she doesn't want to do, but she has to do them because she is the only one, only contender. So she's a princess, and one day she could be the queen. And the other contenders for queen are not good people. And she has a few role models who sort of urge her and say that you have a good heart and that you could be a good queen. And she has to endure trials in order to step into her power. And then once she steps into her power, it's revealed that there's this whole plot by some other characters in the book to completely alter the world. It'd be a lot to explain all of it, but there's this device called the Second Sun, which is this crazy technological device. It's a technological device, but it's also a piece of art of one of the characters. Like they look at their technology like art. And so the Second Sun is this giant glowing ball of energy, and it's contained in a chamber so that the light doesn't shine everywhere. But if you're touched by the light of the Second Sun, it turns you into like a god where your mind can sculpt the world around you. And so the whole sort of path that the story takes once she steps into her power is sort of the struggles and the journey in perfecting this device, and then the moral question of if we shine the light of the Second Sun on the whole world and turn everybody into these creator gods, is it the right thing to do? is it not the right thing to do? Will it throw the world into chaos, or will it bring the world balance? And circumstances arise where she has no choice, and the book ends where the light of the second sun shines on the whole world, and they all become gods, and she flies up into outer space and remains there for centuries and centuries. So that's the book in a nutshell.
Wow. That sounds like a great book.
For sure. And I don't know if you've looked into it, but Smashwords, you can self-publish your books, and Smashwords will put it on to the Kindle and Amazon and things like that.
Cool. I would definitely explore that possibility. It would be a lot to do financially, like I would want to get it edited and stuff like that, but in the future, when I'm at a more established place in my life, I will definitely pursue publishing that book, and I will continue writing, even if it's nonfiction that I write or sort of educational books that I write. I definitely have the ability to write, so I'll definitely use that in the future, whether or not it's directly related to my art.
Yeah.
Make sure you let us know about it too, because I'm interested. I like that storyline.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds so interesting. I did have a question. I think it might have slipped my mind. Yeah, it did. I'm nervous because everybody's listening.
It happens. So, you explained the book. Was it like a chapter book, or it's something you might add series to or something in the future? Just curious when you get to publish it.
I don't think that there would be a sequel to this book. It's just like a standalone story. Yeah, I definitely couldn't do a sequel to it, but because it kind of ends where everyone is turned into God, I guess I could sort of think of some kind of sequel of it, but there definitely wasn't plans for a sequel. But it does create a whole new world where there could be endless stories taking place in this new world, so that's definitely something I could look into. That's cool.
Sounds like a good TV series. Maybe you should just get that published and we'll get you a TV series going.
Yeah, and I did remember what I wanted to say, and I experienced sort of like a writer's block, and things that I've been doing to help are writing in my journal in the morning, and right now I made a deal with God to do for 33 days to write at least one page in the book. And after 33 days, I will get what I requested. So, to people who are writing out there and are just looking for inspiration, I think just writing down every day, just at least if it's like one paragraph, like saying what you're doing, like you're sitting on a park bench in Coldwater, Michigan, and it's 2:42. But trying to get in the habit of writing helps a lot.
What was your question in that?
Do you have any tips for personal ways to get inspired to write?
Or do art for that matter?
Or art?
I would say that for any creative discipline, if you want to do it, you just have to keep doing it. Don't give yourself excuses to not do it. Even if you don't feel like writing in your book, definitely write in your journal, or start a short story, or write a poem, or like for the month or 2 months that I was working on this painting, I would have to take a break every once in a while, but I would go and I would work on something else, or I would work on concepts for something else. So definitely stay immersed in your creative discipline. Even if you sort of lose inspiration for a while, try not to lose the discipline, because just like anything, like a singer or a musician or a craftsman or anything, if you stop doing it, you're going to lose your abilities. So just keep at it, keep writing, keep painting, doing whatever, and just don't accept writer's block. Don't accept that you aren't inspired, because the great people don't wait for inspiration. They find it, and they find it by staying true to the discipline and staying disciplined and just keeping on doing it. That's the best advice I could give.
I love that. That's awesome.
Oh,
For sure.
yeah, that was brilliant. I just wanted to show some of your pictures here on your screen.
I was wondering if you had a favorite piece that you've done personally, or if you could explain it to us. Maybe you can even find it on your Facebook.
So my favorite piece, aside from this one that I just did, because it typically is always the one that I just did, but I've already explained this one. My other favorite piece I would say is Higher Learning. It's of the dolphin and the pyramids in the sky. I don't know if you've got that up there.
I think I have it. I can send it to him. Give me 1 second.
It's the dolphin one?
This one here.
Yeah.
I'll get it up there.
Yeah, you can tell us about it.
Yeah, so the dolphin is sort of swimming in front of these pyramids, and the pyramids right up close to him are really big, and they're sort of ascending into the clouds. Like, there's 7 pyramids altogether, and Higher Learning it's about seeking a path in education that doesn't inhibit or suffocate the inner child. So when I look at that dolphin, I see my inner child, and it's kind of like a representation of my inner child. And he's swimming up to these pyramids. There's the picture. He's swimming up to these pyramids, and they're sort of the pyramids of knowledge and the pyramids of learning. And the whole idea of the painting is that I don't want to seek an institution to learn art. Like, I would never go to college or university for art, even though so many people would suggest that or think that that's the right path. But I would instead seek out the masters themselves, the masters of the craft to learn with. And so I'm actually going to be doing that. In August, I'm going to be going to Switzerland to study the Mish technique with Philip Rubinov Jacobson. You've probably heard of him.
That sounds amazing.
But yeah, as soon as I decided that I wanted to do that, I started this painting as a sort of affirmation that this is what I wanted to do. I don't want to seek an institution or a college or a university, but I want to connect with a master themselves and learn from them, because I feel like that's the way and the path to higher learning that won't inhibit my inner child.
I must say, as an artist, I totally agree with that. Going to college for art is an interesting experience. I kind of went to college myself for communication arts, so like different computer things, and then I switched to art just because I wanted to finish a degree since I started one. And going to school for art was such a weird experience, because you realize that, like, you're spending money to learn an ability that you obviously already have, or you wouldn't be like searching for it. And I was surrounded by, it seemed like, a lot of students that necessarily were kind of taking art as a joke, and it really upset me. And I feel like I totally agree with your statement on, if you want to learn art, you have to learn from the greats, and the greats aren't sitting around a desk trying to figure out what it is. They're doing it themselves, and it's really beautiful that you get to have that experience and go travel and work under someone that you obviously look up to. So that sounds amazing, and definitely go for it and reach for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm so lucky to be able to be doing this, for sure. I feel very blessed.
Yeah, and we are very blessed to have you on the podcast. I think now we'll get into our mustache segment. Have you used Google Hangouts before?
Not really, no.
Okay. On the left of the window, if you sort of scroll your mouse, there will be a little sidebar that pops up. And there's one that is like a yellow box with a wand, and yes.
Yeah.
And you click on that, and on the right will pop up, and you just scroll over a few times till it says facial hair, and you click on one of those facial hairs,
I have a mustache.
and you can see she has a mustache. Now I do.
While you're getting that, though, I was kind of creeping on your Facebook, and I saw that you're going to be a part of an art battle in the next day or so. Is that true?
Oh yeah, it's for some reason it's saying that the app isn't communicating properly with Google. I'm gonna try again, but yeah, I'm participating in the art battle. That charity art group that I was telling you about before, who I did the live painting at the fundraiser for, it's called Club Art, and we're trying to establish a permanent youth arts community center in my town, Orangeville. And so Art Battle is another fundraising effort that we're doing. Art Battle is a Canadian organization, and it's their 6th year, and they do art battles all across the country. And so in partnership with a local arts center, Club Art, and the Alton Mill Arts Center are hosting a series of art battles, which are going to be fundraising vehicles for Club Art to help us establish this community center. And I'll be competing on Saturday, so that should be fun. I'm going to have 20 minutes to do a painting.
Nice.
Ooh, that sounds quite fun to have to kind of rush it. Those are always fun to see what people come up with.
Mm-hmm. So this app isn't working for me. I'm sorry.
Okay. We can still do the segment. Basically, what it is, we just say, I must ask you a question, and you just direct whatever question you have to one person, and then they'll answer it, and then they'll get a chance to ask somebody else. But it's just, yeah. So I'll start off, and I'll ask you, Ricky. I must ask you a question. What is the first memory you have of a moment where you felt really joyful, like this is what life is all about?
So probably when I was a really young kid, I had a lot of stuffed animals, like Beanie Babies of all these different animals, and those animals brought me joy because I gave them human traits and I gave them characteristics, and they all had names, and they all had personalities, and they had their own society, and anytime I'd come home and I'd be in my room, I'd be with them, and there was so many of them, and I could just, they were sort of like friends of mine, and they brought me lots of joy, and it was just a very imaginary time, and I think that's what sort of connected me so strongly to animals now, because I had these sort of animal spirits with me when I was a kid, these spirits that I sort of created in these toys, and that is what sort of allowed me to be the imaginative person that I am today, was just having those spirits with me when I was a kid, you know? It was just a very joyful, free time. If I think back at my first super joyful memories, I think those are them, for sure.
Thank you.
So is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Shannon, I must ask you a question.
Okay.
So what is your purpose with your artwork, and also not just visual art, but these podcasts and Project Bring Me to Life and all the stuff that you're doing? What is your purpose in doing those things?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I feel like my purpose is to motivate other people, and I love doing art, and I love doing it for me, but I love doing it for other people more because I've been pretty blessed throughout life, despite some really crazy journeys that I think all artists end up taking in their own madness. But I realized at a young age that if I did art and I was as happy about it as I try to be, and I just enjoy it and sharing not only my art but everybody's art that comes to me, because I don't know about you as an artist, but I know as an artist, once I started showing people art, everybody wanted to show me their art. And I just saw the excitement in other people's eyes of being able to show their work to each other. So Project Bring Me to Life's really been a huge part of that for me, and being able to grow it with Solomon here. And share other people's artwork, including my own. It's been just an overwhelmingly fun experience, and I feel like that's really like my purpose, and part of the reason I became an artist, and I didn't even realize it, was to help other artists, and it's just a really important point in my life in general. So when I make a painting, I try not to make the painting just for me. It's so I can show it off, but then help other people show off some more things, and it's a really fun journey. And I really like that question.
Beautiful answer.
Thank you. Now I must ask you a question. Where would you like to be, or if you could have a piece of your art anywhere in the next 10 years, where would that be other than Switzerland?
You know, when I think of where I want my art to be shown, the first thing that comes to mind is Europe, and all throughout Europe. So not just Switzerland, but there's a really beautiful art scene, especially visionary art scene in Europe, and in Austria and Vienna, there's a beautiful art scene. There's the Vienna Academy of Visionary Art. So that's also somewhere that I'd like to see myself and that I'd like to see my work. And I'd like to exhibit throughout Europe and in the United States. I'd love to get work in California and in Colorado because there's a lot of beautiful scenes there. And through that, I want to connect with other artists and the artists I admire because they're all out there, all throughout the world, and mostly in Europe and the States and those places that I mentioned. So I think those are the places that I'd like to see my art go and to see myself go. I'd like to sort of be a global citizen and not just be living in Canada, but to have my roots in Canada, but to also be traveling the world and sharing art and doing live painting and talking about art and just all that stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you'd be interested in a project that I'm kind of working on. I encourage other artists to do this too, but I started a project that called Paint the States, where I'm trying to get a painting in every state. And since you're in Canada, you've already got one in a different country, so it'd be kind of cool for you to get a painting in every state of a different country. I think it'd totally be dope.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ricky, so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having us. I've really enjoyed my time. Very interesting questions and
yeah. We try to establish a good space where people will feel comfortable talking and sharing their stories.
Was there anything else about your story or yourself that you would like to share with the world?
Not specifically that I can think of, but to just if you like my art, check out my website, like my Facebook page, because going forward, my work is just, it's astonishing me, and so I just really want to be able to share it with as many people as I can and connect with as many other artists as I can, and I want to be able to collaborate with other artists and make really great things happen and sort of make a big splash in the world. That's what I would like to say. Is anyone who wants to collaborate or work with me to make a big splash, just get in touch and let's talk.
That's awesome. And we have links to your Facebook and your website on the Project Bring Me to Life page, but did you want to go ahead and give yourself a plug-in and give us your actual website URL?
So my website is rickyschaede.com. It's RICKYSCHAEDE.com.
Beautiful.
So you wanted to do the shout-outs then?
Yeah, I was just wondering, did you have any shout-outs for anybody that you wanted to give a hello to or a thank you to while you're on?
Hello to my family, to all my friends, to Philip Rubinov Jacobson, who I'm going to go learn with, and Mantracora, and all the wonderful visionary artists out there in the world. Thank you for doing what you do and for inspiring me to take this path. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have the inspiration of all of you out there, so thanks to all of you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much, David.
Thanks. Have a great night.
All right, everybody check out rickyschaede.com. Our next podcast will be on Tuesday, And that will be with Dixon's violin. So make sure you check that out on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And from all of us here at Shine Time Studios, we love you and namaste.
Bye, guys.
Alright.
And play.